Hi, my name is Giacomo Bono. I'm an associate professor of psychology and first author of the Grit and Gratitude study. So, what does our article cover? It examines if the stress and well-being of ethnically diverse college students differ according to socioeconomic status and whether grit and gratitude serve as protective factors even during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Why is our article important? Well, we assessed the variables prior to the pandemic and then again during the onset of the pandemic. Thus, we had a longitudinal design that spanned about 83 days on average that gave us an opportunity to see how college freshmen, a majority of whom are first-generation college students, differed in stress and well-being before and during the pandemic. What are the implications of our study or future research on this? Well, we found first that there were important differences between students in terms of SES as measured by parent education. Specifically, compared to students of parents with a college education, students of parents with a high school education or less reported less subjective well-being, less gratitude, and more perceived stress prior to the pandemic. And that these differences then disappeared during the onset of the pandemic. There were no differences between SES groups in terms of grit, though, and interestingly, the low SES group showed increases in grateful emotions with the onset of the pandemic, suggesting that perhaps disadvantaged groups tend to use gratitude more when adversity arises. Secondly, we found that low SES groups reported more academic harm and financial harm with the onset of the pandemic compared to the high SES group. However, both groups had equal levels of resilience to the pandemic. Finally, we found that grit and gratitude prior to the pandemic helped protect students from the pandemic in different ways. Grit predicted less academic and psychological harm from the pandemic, whereas gratitude predicted less psychological harm. Further, both grit and gratitude predicted greater resilience to the pandemic and increases in subjective well-being as the pandemic was spreading. So, what practical guidance does our article provide for practitioners? Well, our review of the literature revealed that grit interventions designed for college students who are diverse in SES background are sorely needed, but that there are some gratitude interventions, strategies that is, that may help college students regardless of SES. The fact that our results showed grit and gratitude to have protective properties for promoting well-being even during the onset of a global pandemic indicates that it is worth including grit and gratitude practices into college students' educational experiences for helping them succeed. So how can an instructor use our article in their teaching? Well, our analyses of the majors and graduate students produced by urban universities that serve ethnically diverse colleges, like the one where this study took place, tend to produce many of the very types of professionals that are needed to cope with adversities like pandemics. Therefore, it's not only important for us to support students at such institutions, but to ensure that such institutions also continue to serve so that we can build up our resilience to the pandemic or to future pandemics. Thus, instructors can refer to the most promising intervention studies that we suggest in our study to either directly help their students, or they can start conducting their own research to improve on the empirical approaches that we've highlighted for promoting grit and gratitude among diverse adults. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or want more information. I'm at gbono@csudh.edu. Thanks.